Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a question that, let's be honest, probably hits home for a lot of us. Why do we stop playing the sports we loved as we got older? We're going to break down a huge new research review that pulled together the findings from over 90 different studies to finally get some real answers.
So let's just start with this. Think back for a second. Can you remember that feeling? The absolute excitement of game day, goofing around at practice with your friends, that pure, simple joy of just playing.
Because for so many of us, that passion just kind of fizzles out, right? The jersey gets pushed to the back of the closet, the cleats start gathering dust. What is it that happens between our teenage years and adulthood that just pulls us away from the game?
Well, if this sounds at all familiar, you are definitely not alone. This isn't just your personal story, it's a well-documented global trend. The data shows this really clear, almost predictable drop-off in sports participation as we get older.
And take a look at this. The numbers really tell the story. A study in Australia, for instance, found that while 61% of teenagers are playing sports every week, that number just drops off a cliff to 31% for adults over 55. The participation rate is literally cut in half. So, to understand why this is happening, researchers use this really simple but powerful idea. Think of your decision to play sports less like a one-time choice and more like a constant tug-of-war between two big opposing forces. On one side of the rope, you've got the facilitators. These are all the things pushing you, getting you out on the field, right? Things like wanting to be healthier, or just the fun of it, or that connection you have with your team. And on the other side, you have the constraints, all the things pulling you back to the couch. A nagging injury, family stuff, or just that feeling that there are never, ever enough hours in the day? Okay, so let's start with the most powerful influences of all, the ones that are happening at the individual level, inside our own heads and our own bodies. This is really where the core battle is won or lost.
So what do you think is the single biggest push factor? What's the number one motivator that actually gets an adult to lace up their sneakers and get out there? I'm going to bet it's not what you think. It's not about winning trophies or even about burning calories.
It's this, pure and simple. Across study after study, the most powerful reason adults keep playing sports is just enjoyment. The fun of it, the challenge, the love of the game itself. That's the main thing that keeps people coming back for more.
All right, so if fun is the biggest thing keeping us in the game, what's the biggest showstopper? What's that number one pull factor that just slams the brakes on an adult sports life, sometimes for good?
And yeah, this one probably isn't a huge surprise. The single most common reason people stop is getting injured or sick. It's just a powerful physical wall that can sideline even the most motivated person and make getting back in the game feel almost impossible.
But here's where it gets really interesting. These personal reasons aren't one size fits all. The research consistently found some fascinating differences. Men, for example, tend to be more driven by the thrill of competition and seeing those clear fitness gains. Women, on the other hand, are often more motivated by the social side of things, that connection with teammates, as well as the benefits for their mental health and self-esteem. Okay, let's move out to the next layer of influence, because it's obviously not just about what's going on inside your head. The people around you, your family, your friends, your teammates, they have a massive impact on whether you play or not. And this quote really nails it. Your social circle can be your biggest asset. They're your cheerleaders, the people who play with you. But that exact same network of people can also be the source of all the commitments and guilt that keep you away. It's a real double-edged sword. And here's what that looks like in real life. On the plus side, having a partner who's got your back, loving that camaraderie with your teammates, or wanting to be a good role model for your kids, those are huge motivators. But on the flip side, family commitments were the second most common reason people quit right after injury. That feeling of guilt for taking time away, or maybe just not having any friends who play anymore. Those can be really powerful roadblocks. Now we've got to zoom out even further, because the choice to play or not, it's not always just about you and your friends. The research is super clear that there are these larger structural things at play that can make it either really easy or incredibly hard to participate.
This model shows how it all builds outwards. So you have the organizational level, things like your local league having inflexible schedules, or maybe there just aren't any teams for your age group. Then you move out to the community level. Maybe the local fields are in terrible shape, or you don't feel safe going for a run in your neighborhood. And finally, you have the policy level.
Things like the government focusing all its funding on youth sports instead of adult leagues, which can seriously limit your options.
Okay, so with all of these barriers, personal, social, and structural, just stacked against us, how does anyone manage to keep playing? Well, the research points to this really empowering idea. It's not about waiting for the barriers to magically disappear. It's about actively finding ways to get around them. Now, the official term for this is constraint negotiation. And I know it sounds a little academic, but it's something people do all the time. It's basically the process of looking a barrier in the eye, like I have no time, and actively coming up with a strategy to work around it.
And this isn't just some vague idea. The research identified actual, concrete strategies people are using. We're talking about careful time management, having those upfront conversations with your partner about scheduling, or even finding modified lower-impact versions of sports, like walking basketball. It's all about being proactive instead of passive. Ultimately, the authors of this massive review wrap it all up with this. To get adults back in the game, the whole focus needs to shift. Instead of just talking about health benefits, organizations need to make it about fun. Create flexible and modified sports that actually fit into our busy adult lives, and build programs that help us form habits that stick. So this brings it all back to you. When you look at all these forces, from your own head to your family to national policy, it can feel a little overwhelming. But the research shows us that change really is possible through this idea of negotiation. So what's the one constraint in your life, just one, that you could start to negotiate with to make a little more room for play?